What if I told you that a single decision you make today could be the deciding factor between retiring with real money or grinding financially for the rest of your life? What if I told you that this decision doesn't require a college degree, a high-paying job, or a trust fund waiting for you somewhere? The truth is, there's a straightforward strategy that most people completely sleep on, and it involves nothing more than setting aside roughly what you might spend on a few coffee runs each week. My name is Nick, and I help people understand how small financial decisions can produce massive results over time. If you're serious about building real wealth without complicated investment strategies or get-rich-quick nonsense, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this ends up being useful to you. Here's something that might actually stop you in your tracks. According to recent financial surveys, the majority of Americans can't get their hands on even $1,000 in a pinch. Let that sink in for a second. More than half the people in this country are living so close to the edge that a busted car or an unexpected medical bill could completely blow up their finances. And this isn't just a story about people in poverty or folks earning minimum wage. This includes people with steady jobs, college diplomas, and what looks from the outside like a perfectly comfortable middle-class life. The reality is that most people are locked inside a loop where they earn money, spend money, and start all over again without ever actually building anything. They might have nice cars, fresh clothes, and the newest gadgets, but underneath all that consumption is a pretty scary truth. They're broke, and they don't even see it. But what if there was a way out of that loop? What if there was a proven method that could genuinely reshape your financial future, starting with an amount so small you probably wouldn't even feel it leaving your account? Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how $100 a month could completely change the direction of your life. Before we get into the specifics, let me ask you something real quick. When you think about building wealth, what actually comes to mind? Maybe you picture Wall Street guys closing million-dollar deals or tech founders cashing out for billions. Maybe you think of real estate investors flipping properties or some lucky person hitting the lottery. Those dramatic stories get all the attention, but they represent the exception, not how most wealth actually gets built. The real secret to financial independence isn't flashy. It doesn't make for a viral moment or a trending headline. It's honestly pretty boring, which is probably exactly why most people tune it out completely. The secret is consistency, time, and the remarkable power of compound growth doing the heavy lifting for you. Here's where things start to get interesting. If you can manage to save just $100 every single month, you'll immediately be ahead of more than 60% of the people around you. Not because $100 is some enormous amount of money, but because most people never develop the consistency to save anything at all. Think about what $100 actually represents in your monthly spending. For a lot of people, that's a few meals out, a couple of clothing items, or a handful of streaming subscriptions they barely touch. It might be what bleeds out of your account through random impulse buys on a single target run, or what quietly disappears through small transactions you can't even recall making. The question isn't really whether you have $100. The question is whether you're willing to redirect that money from spending it to putting it to work. That requires a genuine shift in how you think about what money can actually do for you over the long haul. Now, I already know what some of you are thinking. $100 doesn't seem like it's going to move the needle. If you're living paycheck paycheck, scraping together an extra $100 might feel completely out of reach. If you're already doing all right financially, $100 might seem like a drop in the bucket compared to everything else on your plate. Both of those perspectives miss the bigger picture entirely. Let me tell you something that puts this in focus. There was once a teacher who told his students that if they could save just $100 every month, they'd be millionaires by the time they retired. The students thought he was out of his mind. How could such a small amount of money lead to that kind of result? But the teacher wasn't talking about magic or luck. He was talking about math and the extraordinary power of compound interest. The beauty of this approach isn't just about the money itself. It's about developing the habits and the mindset that genuinely wealthy people carry. When you commit to saving $100 every month, you're forced to get more intentional about your spending. You start paying real attention to where your money goes. You begin telling the difference between what you want and what you actually need. You build the kind of discipline that separates people who build wealth from people who wonder why they never seem to get ahead. But how exactly do you find that extra $100 each month? There are really two directions you can go, and the most financially successful people typically work both angles at the same time. You either cut your expenses, grow your income, or both. Let's look at each one. On the expense side, start with your fixed costs, the recurring charges that hit your account automatically every month without you even thinking about them. Insurance premiums, your cell phone bill, internet service, subscriptions of all kinds. Most people are paying way more than they need to for these things simply because they've never taken the time to shop around or push back on the rate. Insurance companies, phone carriers, and service providers all count on you staying put. They know that most customers will keep paying the same bill year after year without ever questioning it. A couple of hours on the phone making calls and comparing options could easily free up $50 to $100 a month or more. Then there are the subscription services, which have become a full-on epidemic. Streaming platforms, software tools, gym memberships, magazine subscriptions, random monthly boxes. These add up to hundreds of dollars a month for a lot of households. And plenty of people are paying for things they barely use or have totally forgotten they're even subscribed to. A thorough audit of those charges could put real money back in your pocket almost immediately. Your day-to-day spending habits are another area worth looking at. Small adjustments in how often you eat out, where you buy groceries, and what you actually throw in the cart can stack up into meaningful monthly savings. The key is being strategic rather than making cuts so aggressive that you can't realistically sustain them. On the income side, the modern economy gives you more ways than ever to bring in extra money. Whether that's freelancing something you already know how to do, launching a small side hustle, or picking up part-time work, adding an extra $100 a month in income is usually far more doable than people assume. The specific method matters a lot less than your commitment to actually making it happen. Some people find it easier to cut, others would rather focus on earning more. The most important thing either way is taking action instead of getting stuck trying to figure out the perfect plan. Once you've figured out how to free up that $100 each month, the next step is understanding what happens when you put that money to work through investing. This is where things get genuinely exciting, and it's something we're about to break down in real detail. The moment you start investing that $100 a month, you step into an entirely different financial world. Your money stops being just money and becomes something a whole lot more powerful. It turns into a wealth-generating machine that runs around the clock, earning returns even while you're asleep. Let's get specific about what happens when you put that $100 to work in the stock market. Over a 10-year period, assuming reasonable market returns, your monthly contributions of $100 don't just add up to $12,000. They grow to roughly $18,000. That extra $6,000 is your money-earning money, which might not sound earth-shattering at first. But here's where most people make a critical mistake in their thinking. They look at that $6,000 and think it's nice, but not life-changing. They're focused on the short-term snapshot instead of understanding the exponential force building underneath the surface. What they're looking at is just the beginning of a wealth creation process that gets dramatically more powerful with time. The real transformation kicks in when you stretch that timeline out. Instead of thinking 10 years, think about what happens over a 40-year career. That same $100 a month, invested consistently, grows into something that will genuinely shock you. Your total contributions over 4 decades come out to $48,000, but your investment portfolio doesn't stop there. It explodes to over $350,000. Think about what that actually means. You personally put in less than $50,000, but your account holds more than $350,000. Where did that extra $300,000 come from? It came from compound interest, which Albert Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world. More than 85% of your ending wealth came not from your effort, but from your money working on your behalf. This is the core difference between people who build wealth and people who struggle with money their entire lives. Wealthy people get that there's a ceiling on how much they can earn through their own labor. But there's virtually no ceiling on how much their money can earn when it's given enough time to compound. Think about the math behind this. In the early years, the returns feel almost invisible. A 10% return on $5,000 is only $500. You might think that $500 isn't really worth the effort or the risk. You could probably earn that by picking up a few extra shifts. But that thinking completely misses the point. As your balance grows, those same percentage returns translate into significantly larger dollar amounts. When your portfolio hits $50,000, that 10% return drops $5,000 into your account in a single year. When it reaches $100,000, you're pulling in $10,000 annually from your investments alone. At $300,000, your money is generating $30,000 a year. At that point, your investments aren't just padding your income, they're producing serious wealth that could realistically replace your paycheck entirely. This is when people really start to understand why getting in early and staying consistent matters so much. The difference between starting at 25 versus 35 isn't just 10 years of contributions. It's 10 years of compound growth on every dollar you would have had in the market. The numbers we've been walking through assume an 8% annual return, which is actually conservative compared to what the market has historically delivered. The S&P 500 has averaged over 10% annually for decades. At that higher return rate, your $100 a month could grow to well over $500,000, with an even larger share of that coming from compound growth rather than your own contributions. But here's something most financial content creators won't come right out and say. The hardest part of all of this isn't the math. The hardest part is building the discipline to stick with the plan when everything around you is pushing you towards spending instead of saving. We live in a culture that rewards consumption, celebrates instant gratification, and makes it really easy to justify one more purchase. Every single month, you'll face a decision about that $100. Invest it as planned or use it for something more immediate and tangible. Maybe there's a sale on something you want, or your group chat is planning a pricey weekend, or there's just a small upgrade to your life sitting right in front of you. These moments are where your commitment actually gets tested. The people who successfully build wealth through consistent investing develop what I call investment automation. They put systems in place that take the temptation out of the equation. They treat their monthly investment contribution the same way they treat their rent. It's not optional. It just gets paid. They understand that paying yourself first isn't just a motivational saying. It's the actual foundation of financial independence. As your investment balance grows, something changes in you psychologically that accelerates the whole process. You start noticing the monthly growth in your account, and it genuinely gets exciting. Investing stops feeling like a sacrifice and starts feeling like the most rewarding thing you do with your money. That excitement pushes you to look for ways to put in more each month. You might decide to invest your tax refund instead of blowing it. You might redirect money that would have gone toward lifestyle inflation after a raise. You might start a side hustle specifically to feed your investment account more. When you can see your money growing on its own without any extra effort from you, finding ways to accelerate that growth becomes a real priority. This mindset shift is what separates people who build meaningful wealth from people who stay trapped in the consume and repeat cycle. Instead of asking how much you can afford to spend, you start asking what a purchase is actually going to cost you in future wealth. That $100 dinner isn't just $100 anymore. It's potentially several $100s in lost investment growth down the road. Wealthy people understand that every dollar has the potential to become multiple dollars through compound growth, and that understanding shapes every financial decision they make. They're not necessarily more disciplined or smarter than everyone else. They just have a completely different relationship with money and time. When you truly grasp what compound growth can do, you realize that your most valuable asset isn't your job, your house, or anything you own. Your most valuable asset is time. And every month you wait to get started is a month of potential growth you will never get back. The $100 a month strategy works because it's achievable for most people, and it's also completely scalable. As your income grows throughout your career, you can bump up your contributions. The person who starts with $100 at 25 might be putting in $500 or $1,000 a month by the time they hit 40. The early habit of investing consistently builds the foundation that makes faster wealth building possible later on. But even if you never increase that original $100 contribution, you'll still accomplish something genuinely remarkable. You'll have built financial independence through one of the most boring, reliable, and powerful strategies ever put into practice. While other people are chasing hot tips and trying to time the market, you'll be quietly stacking wealth through the proven method that has created more millionaires than any other approach in history. The question people always ask at this point is whether this strategy actually works in the real world or whether it's just theoretical math that sounds good in a video but falls apart in practice. The answer is that millions of people have used this exact approach to build serious wealth, many of them starting from very humble beginnings. What makes this strategy so powerful isn't just the compound growth we've been talking about. It's the transformation that happens to you as a person when you commit to investing consistently. You develop financial discipline that reaches way beyond that $100 contribution every month. You become more conscious of your spending patterns, more strategic about the moves you make in your career, and more focused on where you're headed long term rather than what feels good right now. That shift in perspective opens up opportunities that most people never even see. When you have money saved and invested, you have options that simply don't exist for people living paycheck. Maybe a better job opportunity comes along, but it's with a smaller company that offers more upside and less security in the short term. Without savings to fall back on, most people can't take that leap. But when you've got a growing investment portfolio, you can afford to bet on yourself. Maybe you've always wanted to start a business, but needed startup capital to get it off the ground. Maybe a solid real estate opportunity comes along, but it requires a down payment you don't have sitting in your checking account. These situations happen all the time, but they're only available to people who've been building their financial base through consistent saving and investing. Wealthy people understand that money creates more money, not just through investment returns, but through the opportunities that open up when you have capital to put to work. They can take calculated risks that other people genuinely cannot afford to take. They can invest in themselves, in their skills, and in their ventures because they have the financial foundation to support those decisions. But here's something that might actually surprise you about this $100 strategy. The real goal isn't to save exactly $100 forever. The goal is to establish the habit and the mindset that makes building wealth feel natural and inevitable. Most people who start with $100 a month find themselves naturally pushing that number higher as they start seeing real results. When you watch your investment account grow month after month and year after year, something clicks. You realize that every dollar you can shift from spending to investing is a dollar that's going to multiply over time. That realization tends to lead to what financial experts call lifestyle optimization, rather than lifestyle inflation. Instead of spending every raise on upgraded stuff, you start channeling that extra income into your investment accounts. Instead of treating your tax refund like bonus spending money, you see it as a chance to get further ahead. This mindset shift is what sets people who actually reach financial independence apart from people who stay stuck in the earn and spend cycle. The beauty of starting with just $100 is that it proves something to yourself. It proves that wealth building is actually possible for you. A lot of people never invest at all because they've convinced themselves they need thousands of dollars to make it worthwhile. They're sitting around waiting for the perfect moment when they have a big lump sum ready to go, not realizing that the perfect moment is right now, with whatever amount they can manage. Once you've held the $100 habit for 6 months or a year, you gain real confidence in your ability to follow through on long-term financial plans. That confidence tends to push people to clean up other areas of their financial life. They refinance their mortgage to get a better rate, shop their insurance around for cheaper coverage, or finally go into their boss's office and ask for the raise they deserve. These additional wins compound the effect of that original $100 commitment. Maybe you save $50 a month on insurance and cut another $75 in subscriptions you weren't even using. Now you're investing $225 a month instead of $100, and your wealth building picks up serious speed. The psychological impact of watching your net worth grow consistently every single month cannot be overstated. For a lot of people, it's the first time in their lives they've experienced their financial situation genuinely improving month after month without needing to log more hours or chase a promotion. Your money is literally earning while you sleep. And once you feel that, it's both empowering and honestly a little addictive in the best way possible. As your investment balance hits real milestones, the monthly growth starts becoming something you can actually see and feel. When your account crosses $50,000 and jumps by several $100s in a single month just from market gains, you start to understand why wealthy people talk about investing the way they do. When it hits $100,000 and generates several $1,000s of growth in a good month, the power of the whole thing becomes completely undeniable. This is when most people hit what I'd call the wealth building acceleration phase. They're no longer satisfied with minimal monthly contributions because they can see exactly how much faster things could move with more fuel in the tank. They start looking for real ways to grow their income, specifically to pump more money into their investments. They pick up freelance work, launch a side business, or go after career advancement with a lot more intensity. The $100 strategy works because it creates momentum. Like a snowball making its way down a hill, it starts out small but picks up size and speed as it goes. The key is getting that snowball moving in the first place, which is exactly what happens the moment you commit to investing your first $100. Even if market conditions aren't ideal when you get started, the strategy still works because you're in it for decades, not months. You'll go through market downturns, recessions, and stretches of real uncertainty. But you'll also ride market recoveries, bull runs, and periods of exceptional growth. Over the long haul, those ups and downs tend to balance out in favor of people who stay patient and stay in. The people who fail with this strategy usually make one of two mistakes. Either they never get started because they're waiting for conditions to be perfect, or they start strong and then bail during the first major downturn when they see their balance dip. Successful wealth builders understand that volatility is part of the deal, not a signal to quit. When you commit to this approach, you're joining a group of people who understand that building real wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. You're choosing to delay some gratification now in exchange for something much bigger later, and you're betting on your own ability to stay disciplined over time. Those are the qualities that separate people who end up financially free from people who spend their whole lives wondering why they never got there. The $100 a month strategy isn't exciting, and it won't make you rich by next year, but it will make you genuinely wealthy over time. And that is worth a whole lot more than any shortcut or scheme. It's a proven path that asks nothing more from you than consistency and the wisdom to start today instead of putting it off until tomorrow. Your financial future comes down to the decisions you make right now. Every month you hold off is a month of compound growth you will never get back. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Take the first step.